As always, I hope that you enjoy. A quick thank you to the T5 peeps, Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Cat Crab Lobster, DuckMachine, Astraya the Dreamer, Mezec, Feudic Jarl, Casper Arnholtz, and Chaos to Mist. Thank you very much. Human's gift from the future, or, when it comes to time travel, you technically want to be second. Written by Devil Doc. Humanity is a remarkable species. They are technically the youngest species in the galaxy. Yes, you read that right. Not sentient species, just species in general. Additionally, they are the only species who have a recorded history of their entire evolutionary process, and the only species to have colonized Andromeda Galaxy, apparently. They have plans for a core that they don't want to test locally. They didn't mean to invent time travel. It just happened to be a consequence of the FTL design. The way they tell the story, and believe me, they love telling the story. It happens relatively early in the evolution, approximately 7,500 human years after they began keeping records in the form of marks in dried mud. They were already capable of near light speed travel thanks to their soliton drive. The soliton used massive amounts of energy to create a rotating bubble of warped spacetime, allowing the void ships to fall towards the direction they wanted to go. A soliton drive with a clever enough AI could reach speeds just under 2% of the speed of light. Not blindingly fast on the cosmic scale, but they got their foot in the door, as the humans say. While sending probes out to other star systems, they discovered their first naturally occurring wormhole. It was a short, fat, kind of donut-shaped hole in reality. It was all by itself in the middle of deep space, but it was there. So the humans descended upon it in droves. They froze their bodies and sent ships full of scientists and engineers from all disciplines to flesh out this brand new science. They learned the standalone wormhole was a branch from a larger network that had been severed and looped back upon itself. Then they discovered the hyperdrive lanes that permeate the galaxy, left over from her birth and kept alive by a supermassive black hole at her heart. They learned how to slip into these lanes and travel to any other location in the network at exactly the speed of light. The speed of light isn't all that fast on a galactic scale, seeing how end-to-end trip would take over 100,000 years. But there were 133 stars within 50 light-years of their origin planet, meaning a colony could be sent out and a message received upon its arrival within one human lifespan. So they spread. They leapt out into the galaxy, in search of new planets, new homes, new resources, new sites, and new hopes. Their population exploded, and so did their research and technology. It did not take them long to figure out that they could create standalone wormholes of their own and keep them open at both ends, effectively creating instant warp gates. This would be a game changer. It no longer mattered that you couldn't go faster if you could just travel the shorter distance. They prepared warp gates near the origin star and their nearest neighbor, Proxima Centauri, and began pruning the network to allow the gates to stay open. Then they turned it on. It worked. There was now a wormhole between Sol and Proxima Centauri. But to their horror, the damage they did to the local hyperspace network was extensive. Their forethought to separate the warp gates from the main hyperspace network was insightful. However, they didn't realize the extent the lanes were interconnected. Thousands of minuscule branches reached out across the network like capillaries connecting a larger veins and arteries. They simply couldn't prune all the connections, and a large swath of nearby hyperspace collapsed, cutting off hyperspace travel for all along its route. Earth and Artemis would never again be able to see their brothers and sisters amongst the stars. However, at the exact moment 3 ships fell out of hyperspace at Sol before they left Proxima Centauri. It took a while before anyone noticed the discrepancy. The first ship suffered a total systems failure and recorded no data from hyperspace travel. The second ship saw all the commotion at the warp gate and took off as quickly as possible, not wanting to deal with the paperwork. But the third ship, well, that third ship was piloted by Acting Ensign Walker of the Artemis Colony Command Trading Program, who dutifully noted their time of arrival in a redundant paper logbook, using his analog watch when the ship's system failed. 8 years later, Acting Ensign Walker made a notation in his ship's log indicating his arrival at Sol from Proxima Centauri, and the computer flagged it as a double entry. Once the humans knew what happened, it was only a short matter of time before they replicated it. They sacrificed more of their hyperspace lanes to make it happen. But if they cracked time travel, it wouldn't really matter. Causality redamped, they would go headlong into the unknown. Earth and Artemis pulled together and came up with a simple plan. Seed the galaxy with warp gates in the deep past, far enough into the past that by the time they evolve, they will have all been in place and ready to be turned on. They figured if they couldn't safely prune the hyperspace network to selectively use it for warp gates, then they would just use all of it at once. Waste not, want not. So, the humans did. They designed a network of wormholes that would allow free travel throughout the galaxy, even at sublight speeds. To ensure that they would understand the devices when they came across them again, they populated the data cores of warp drives with an AI to act as a teacher and a guide. She contained all the information the human species had ever collected, and she was tasked with helping them through their ascension. They created fleets of non-human probes and sent them out into the distant past, which arrived in a young Milky Way. Eons before they were created, they set to the task of replicating, spreading, and building warp gates. These gates were spread across the hyperspace network near the stars or planets, and the humans hoped would someday harbor intelligent life. These gates, once constructed, sat quietly for tens of thousands of years before they were rediscovered. Then they confirmed the multiverse theory. Causality doesn't like being broken. No one in the universe is privileged with the center. So, when the humans broke causality by making 3 Voidcraft arrive before they left, causality did the only thing she could: branch off into a new universe and break the connection. In one universe, the humans sent knowledge to someone else's past. In another universe, the humans woke up to that knowledge, but they weren't the first to find it. A young species was inspired by the oddly reflective asteroid they discovered through their newly invented telescopes. It fascinated scientists for years. Why does that asteroid orbit at such an odd inclination to the solar plane? Is it magic? Is it God? Is it aliens? These questions drove that species to tackle the challenges of their time and rise up as one to conquer spaceflight, to understand that which is unknown. That is what led them to discover humanity before they existed. That is what led me to discover you. You are a fascinating species. Or rather, judging from the internal clocks in your warp gates, will be a fascinating species. We are a man of LanScaper. We have now been walking the galaxy for hundreds of thousands of years alone. Your AI, Charlie, has no record of us in her memory and can only assume that in your other timeline, we are extinct. Those humans looked at the multiverse in the eyes and did not blink. They sacrificed their remaining hyperspace lanes to ensure that someone, somewhen, a version of themselves would continue on, unhindered by the burdens of physics and unafraid of the loneliness in the void. We can't wait to thank you in person. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed.